Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in just a couple days, and I've been thinking a lot about what exactly I want from the game. So today I'm going to be talking through some things that I want to see and don't want to see in Metroid Prime 4. I'm basing this list completely off of the previous Metroid Prime games, and I'm going to do my best to stay as realistic as possible in this video. And before I get much deeper, if you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of this year. So I wasn't going to address this, but I'm going to. Before, in the time between when I prepped for this video and actually started recording, the Metroid Prime 4 review scores have come out. When I looked, it was sitting about an 80 on Metacritic, which is lower than I expected, especially considering that all three of the previous Prime games were in the 90s. But I'm still hopeful that this is going to be a very good video game. I'm still going to be picking it up day one, and I imagine that I'll have a video sometime next week talking about what I think. All right, so anyway, things that I want and don't want from Metroid Prime 4. Let's look here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things that I want, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I don't want. And I guess before I kick that list off, if you want to go ahead and leave a comment on this video letting me know what you want or don't want from a Metroid Prime 4. I would really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to hearing it as well. I don't really get to talk to a lot of Metroid Prime fans, so that kind of interaction is always appreciated. And without wasting any more time, let's get in there. One thing I want is that I want it to return to a more mysterious atmosphere. Metroid Prime 1 and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes had a very mysterious atmosphere. In Prime 3, you were just kind of like, you weren't really doing an investigation. You were kind of being assigned missions by the Galactic Federation Marine Corps. And so it kind of took away from the feel of the game. And before I go any deeper, I should probably say I don't think there's anything on this list that I would really consider a major spoiler. But I guess if I do, I will put an overlay on the screen that says spoiler coming up or something, if there's something in the editing that I think is going to be a spoiler. I want to be able to change guns. This might sound really basic, especially if you have only played Metroid Prime Remastered on Nintendo Switch. Prime 1 and Prime 2, as you picked up new guns, you continue to use them throughout your playthrough, open doors, and do all this stuff. In Prime 3, they actually got rid of that. When you got the Plasma Beam and then later the Nova Beam in Prime 3, they replaced the previous gun, so you couldn't actually use the Power Beam and the Plasma Beam at the end of the game. The only gun that you had left was the Nova Beam, and that progression is more in line with the 2D Metroid games and how they do their progression there, but it is different from the other two Prime games. The next thing that I want is good upgrades. I do think that Metroid Prime 3 had some of the worst and least exciting upgrades. Most of them were just your existing attacks that got infused with Phazon, or you could use your grapple beam to tie up enemies and pull on things that for some reason your grapple became 4 different upgrades, which wasn't very exciting for me. So I'm hoping that in Prime 4 they kind of fix that a little bit. The next thing that I want is good bosses. I think that Metroid Prime 1 had the best bosses, but in Metroid Prime 2, 10 bosses were either item name Guardian, so Boost Guardian or Grapple Guardian, and all of those were just kind of boring to me. And then you fought Dark Samus 3 or 4 times, and it just didn't really carry the same weight that the bosses did in Metroid Prime 1. And then by the time we got to Prime 3, there weren't as many big boss battles, and some of them felt kind of unbalanced, which I'll talk about here in a little bit too. And then Metroid Prime 3 also had a bunch of mini bosses, like the Steambots and stuff, that had health bars, so they were bosses, but they got reused a whole bunch. And so I'm not really a fan of fighting the same bosses over and over again. I would like for there to be optional upgrades. Or bonus upgrades that reward you a little bit for your exploration. Metroid Prime 1 and Metroid Prime 2 had optional beam upgrades like the flamethrower and the sonic boom. But there's nothing like that in Prime 3. And I think that's partially because your weapons are constantly getting replaced by different weapons. You might lose access to it or something like that. I'm not really sure. I would like for Metroid Prime 4 to be balanced better than Metroid Prime 3. In Metroid Prime 3, there was a system where you used energy tanks to as like a currency to power certain weapons. So healing items were readily available in boss battles, which made all of the boss battles like super easy. Also in Metroid Prime 3, your basic weapons like your normal gun and your like normal missiles and your like morph ball bomb, everything just felt really weak. But then they felt super like overpowered when you infused them with Phazon. So you were kind of left with this trade-off of I can use Phazon to power up my weapons and take out these enemies really easily, which damages your health because you're using energy tanks for that, or you can use your normal enemies and just spend a whole bunch of time killing enemies like really slowly. Which I think is what I did. I want there to be pretty fluid traversal between the different areas. I'm not saying that there needs to be like fast travel or anything like that, but as you progress into the game, I think moving from point A to point B should feel better. Whether it's because you're getting new movement capabilities or you're learning the map or anything like that. Specifically in Metroid Prime 2, I remember there being like sections of the map that would get like blocked off and you just couldn't go that way and you had to take this like really long way to go around. And I also think that in Metroid Prime 3, they did a little bit of this too, that there was a area that you could go through and then like something behind you collapsed, so if you wanted to get back to where you were, you had to like do this stuff with your ship and like blow stuff up with the ship missile, and it was this whole thing that doesn't really add to the game for me. It just makes it more annoying that I can't go where I want to go. And then the final thing that I would like for Metroid Prime 4 is a some sort of pin system for the map where you can, if you see something that you know you can't interact with, you could put down a marker and tell yourself like, hey, I should come back here later when I'm able to do blank. And I actually think that that's possible because I think they had a system similar to that in Metroid Dread, which is the newest Metroid game. Still related to that pin system, I don't think I would want something where they mark things on the map for you that you're unable to interact with like automatically. I think that would feel a little bit too much like they're holding your hand for Metroid. Or if they don't want to put a pin system in there, I would like a system similar to Metroid Fusion or Metroid Zero Mission, where if you go over an area or over a room, it'll tell you if you're missing any like secrets or anything in there. I find that kind of stuff to be very helpful. Next, I'm going to talk about the things that I don't want to see in Metroid Prime 4. I don't want there to be some big like team up. I don't want you to be part of the Avengers, and I don't want you to be running around with all of your allies. We saw this a little bit in Metroid Prime 3, that Samus was put as part of this team, and because Samus has always been a pretty silent protagonist, there were cutscenes that had people talking to Samus, and she would just kind of stand there, and it was just kind of awkward. And I don't think I would want Samus to be voiced either. So I think it would be best for them to just not have Samus have any allies. In my mind, you know, Samus is a bounty hunter that works alone, and I would like for Metroid Prime 4 to kind of reiterate that for me. Next thing that I don't want is forced items, which obviously you progress through Metroid games, you progress through the Metroid Prime games by collecting different items and upgrades. That's not what I'm talking about. Specifically, there's a section in Metroid Prime 1 when you get the thermal visor. It's like buried in this like research facility, and you could see perfectly fine in the research facility, like all the way going down there. But then you have to use it gets super dark, and you have to use the thermal visor to get out. That in itself, I don't think is that big of a problem. But any time after that, when you revisit that area, you can tell that they're just intentionally making it like way darker. I do think that there's a way that they could do it a little bit better. Like, I don't know, if there was an option to crawl out of that research facility and then like turn on the like emergency power or something to like light that whole area back up. I think that would be fine. Getting more items should make you feel better when you play the game, and they shouldn't make you feel like you're being more restricted. The next thing is that I do not want a bunch of unnecessary expansions. There's always tons of missile expansions. That's not really what I'm talking about. I like that the missiles can go up to 250. Especially in Prime 1, that means that you can basically just use super missiles like constantly and take out a whole bunch of stuff with one hit. What I'm talking about is something similar to the ship missile expansions in Metroid Prime 3. There were 8 ship missile expansions, but there were only a handful of places on the entire map that you could even use the ship missile. So it felt weird. This might be kind of a controversial one here. I'm not a fan of missable scans. I would like for there to be some kind of way for them to figure it out that you can still scan a boss or something after it's been defeated. I've never gotten the 100% logbook before in Metroid Prime 1, and that is mostly because they're the missable scans, and I would really like to be able to fix that with Metroid Prime 4. All right, and then the final thing, and I would say this is something that I don't think they would include this. I don't want bad motion controls. If it were up to me, I would think I would like to avoid motion controls altogether, but I really just want to avoid the bad motion controls. Metroid Prime 3 used motion controls to use like certain items like the lasso, and you had to like do some stuff with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck to be able to like open certain doors and fly your ship, and it always felt kind of clunky to me. However, I really don't mind motion controls for like fine-tuned aiming, like in Breath of the Wild and some other games. I like that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is a nice touch, and there's usually an option to go ahead and turn that stuff off anyway. Guys, that's all I have for today. In the comment section of this video, please let me know what you want and don't want from Metroid Prime 4. Until next time, the best way to keep up with me is right here on YouTube. Thanks, guys.